Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. We are the Real Pineapple. We're back from our little hiatus. This is your humble, wonderful co-host Hunter here, and I'm here with Colin. Colin, how are you, sir?
I'd be doing better if we were reviewing something else than what we are.
I couldn't agree with you more. And we're here with the guy who dodged this bullet. We're here with Scott. Scott, how you doing, sir?
I'm okay. I'm a little sad that I missed it because if there's anything I love more than reviewing movies with you guys, it's reviewing Melissa McCarthy movies with you guys.
You would have had a field day with this one too. I'm disappointed. I don't get to hear you.
I'll give you my little personal review after I see this on like Netflix or something.
For sure. Yeah, it won't be long, I'm sure.
I'm sorry, I lied. I'm not gonna see this movie. I'm sorry, I lied to you just now.
You'll have to watch this for the worst of list, because trust me.
Yes, no, for real, I will.
So the reason Scott didn't see it is because Scott was off getting an education, so he had finals. So he dodged a bullet this time, but next bullet you will be taking because
I'll take any bullet for you, Hunter.
I appreciate it.
Life of the Party.
Yeah, except for this one. So yeah, we're talking about Life of the Party, and so I'm just gonna jump into my experience that I had with this movie. So I went and saw it like at 11 o'clock on Saturday. I got nice
in the
and
morning.
High. Yeah. I went. I got really, really high before I went in. I went next door to Burger Me, got some food, got a nice tall 805 draft beer, and then went into the theater and got a tall margarita. So I was pretty buzzed and high watching this movie, and I can still say the movie killed my buzz and my high. This is. I would actually watch I Feel Pretty before I ever watch this again.
I agree. I was going to make that point at one point, so I agree with you.
Like, I hated I Feel Pretty, but I Feel Pretty is Citizen Kane next to this movie. This movie is just...
And dude, you say it killed your buzz right away, too? This movie starts out like... It's not funny. It's like starts out like super depressing. Like, the tone of it, I was like, what am I getting in store for here?
Basically, Colin, I heard you in my head the whole time, just like multiple times going, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Because honestly, the movie has no idea what the fuck it wants to be. So that weird opening scene you mentioned is, so it's Melissa McCarthy, Deanna, and she's talking to her husband, who's played by Matt Lucas. You've seen like The Hangover, or Matt Walsh, pardon me. You see him in The Hangover. He was the doctor in there who tells them to get a map and fuck off. He is he's in Role Models, which he was great in Role Models. He's a really funny guy, and they just dropped the daughter off at college, and they're maybe in the car 20 seconds, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so excited for an Italy trip." He goes, "Hey, I want a divorce." Just like no prompting, he just drops this huge like, "Oh, hey, by the way, we should like get divorced," and like, "Oh, full transparency, I'm in love with someone else." Like,
and it's not like zany or wacky.
No,
like to make it lighthearted. She's like crying, and then he's like, "I'm doing this for you," and she's like, "Don't you dare say you're doing this for me." And I was just like, "What movie is this? What is this?" It was like, I thought really
she was
serious.
The life of the party.
Yeah.
So the thing about this movie too, so they split up, and so the mom, oh god, what was she? She was an archaeology major, if I remember.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I went K. All right. So, and apparently they make it very clear that semester is about to start because they dropped the daughter off at school. Apparently, it's really easy to just get in the classes at the school because she just goes,
really
"Hey."
Easy.
Yeah, and I gotta say too, you know what I found absent from this movie besides laughs, was the concept of time. Time does not exist in this movie. This shit just moves on from scene to scene, and they go through a whole semester, it never feels like it. Scott, you saw a trailer for this. Like, what did you kind of think as far as just a trailer?
Well, there's kind of like, I felt like the cast may have the opportunity to maybe support her in a way that wasn't going to be like every other Melissa McCarthy movie that we've seen outside of maybe Spy. But, you know, very low hopes. Seemed like, I don't know, trailers are supposed to highlight the funniest parts of the movie, if not like, you know, throughout some beeline jokes that will get you drawn in, and didn't make me laugh or drew me in whatsoever. So I feel like going into this, like, expectations would be pretty low.
So this was directed and I believe written not just by Melissa McCarthy, but by Ben Falcone, who's her husband. He has done. So, you know, we always mention Spy. That's like one of the movies that she was actually, you know, good at. And honestly, to Colin's credit, because he was like, you should rewatch it, I thought The Heat was actually pretty good. But Ben Falcone, he's done her worst movies. He's the one behind the classic Tammy, and he's also and he's also one behind me and Scott's favorite movie of that year, The Boss. That me and Scott were just... We hate
She was like totally the boss in that. She was definitely like CEO boss status in that. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And Scott, I'm telling you right now, this is worse than both of those by like a almost horrifyingly like sizable margin. Here's the thing about
you're saying it started off kind of serious. When did they start to bring in the like the fire, you know, when did they bring in the good jokes?
Like that never it never had. So I'll be honest with you, Colin, I laughed once at this movie. And I got a hard laugh, and the reason why Stephen
there was one scene I thought was funny.
Stephen Root, who of course you know from Office Space, Life of the Party, and not Life of of course Life of the Party, but he was just in Get Out. He was in News Radio. He's great. He plays her dad, Mike, I think his name is. It doesn't really matter, but Mike, yeah. So there's this point where, you know, she goes to her parents' house and goes, you know, oh my god, he's leaving me, and that scene, again, not really played for laughs. Like, the mom always like, you know what, I should make you a sandwich. That always make you feel good, better. You love ham sandwiches. I'm sitting there like, okay, this is a joke, whatever. And so Stephen Root grabs a gun, and he's like, I'm gonna go shoot him. And he almost shoots their dog, and I laughed so hard. That was the one laugh I got, because it comes from nowhere. He's just waving his gun in the air, and he misses his dog by like 6 inches, and that caught me so off guard. I went, okay, that was actually funny. What was the one thing that made you laugh, Colin?
I thought it was funny when she was giving the speech in front of the class.
Oh, dude, see that honestly, I was sitting there just not laughing. I was like, oh, okay, so she's sweating and all this, and the teacher wouldn't be like, oh, you need to take a second.
When she, it was awkward at first, but then when she falls on her knee, and like hits her knee so hard that just like, I think the idea of like Melissa McCarthy like getting hurt, like that just like brought out some humor for me.
Okay, I mean,
because I wanted to see her in pain, and then she starts like gagging and like about to throw up. I don't know. I thought that was at least like slightly slapsticky funny.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think I was so angry about that point, I just couldn't laugh at anything.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm happy you brought that up, because the movie, she talks about like, oh, my back hurts, my knees hurt, and da-da-da. And, you know, like, I'm old. Like, the whole movie, like, oh, she's old, so she can't do anything. Isn't that funny? Isn't that a great message? Waka waka. Like, that, the movie hammers that home. And then she ends up going to this, you know, her first college party since being back. And she's out on the dance floor doing the worm and shit. I'm like, oh my fucking god. I'm like, this, like, the movie's just like, whatever, like, we need to do for this scene, you know, fuck our own logic that we've set up. It's just, and, okay. So speaking of that, at that party, and I realize I'm jumping all over the place, because the plot jumps all over the place, it doesn't fucking matter. So, there's a point where she hooks up with this guy, which I went, no way. There's no chance in hell that she would hook up.
That's the part of the movie that made me the most angry.
So she
was the relationship between her and this guy.
So she hooks up with this guy who kind of looks like Zac Efron, like not as handsome, but kind of that vein,
but like younger. I mean, like he looks like a 20-year-old like college guy, like an in shape, good looking, 20-year-old college guy.
Yeah, and it's a giant leap to accept that, and he's like infatuated with her,
like from the second he meets her.
Yeah, like they
Melissa fucking McCarthy. Like, let's just let that sink in.
That's the one thing that I kind of like appreciate, if that there's even a word for it, for I Feel Pretty, is like she completely owns her body and like the way that she looks, and like is 100% in touch with reality. Outside of her thinking that she looks different halfway through the movie, but like
yeah,
she understands how she looks, and like Melissa McCarthy is outside of that realm apparently.
And that like love interest story in that movie is at least believable. Like
right.
That guy, you can see like him being interested in Amy Schumer in that movie, but in this movie,
no way.
I mean, it is insane. When like at first I was like, oh, he's just being nice, and then as it went along, and he just is, like you said, Hunter, infatuated with her. I was like, and you already mentioned it, I'm sitting there and I'm like, what are we doing here? What am I watching?
No, it's true. And so like they sleep together, and it leads to that horrible scene they showed in the trailer, like, oh, like, you can ask me anything. My vagina is basically a Vagoogle. I just went, Jesus Christ, this movie is just not. And I'll be so okay. So I didn't really mention it. So when I saw this at 11, like 11:10, 11:15, my theater was packed with like
that wasn't even possible.
With like
matinee for a Melissa McCarthy movie.
Wow, that's bizarre.
With like women who are like in their early 20s to early 30s, they're with their moms. Like that's everyone else in that theater.
And they were probably all cracking up, huh?
You know what's funny, man? I heard maybe 2 laughs from the audience. Like even the audience just went, okay, this is not funny at all. So
my theater wasn't full either. My theater was filled. It was like date night. I went at like 4 in the afternoon, and it was like date night for like 50-year-old couples. But it was like maybe like a third full, and it was awkwardly silent. Yeah, whole time.
Really interesting.
Oh yeah, nobody was laughing.
Oh, that makes me feel better. I just the thing about that though, the whole Vagoogle thing, it's such a painful line when she delivers it, and then she like puts her hand up to her ear, like, oh, you hear what's saying? I'm like, oh my fucking god, make this stop. So I'll be honest, guys, I almost walked out. That was almost the breaking point for me. I was like, I looked
at my phone probably every 3 minutes. Like wishing time was moving faster.
Oh man, that line in particular just broke me. And so then there's this point where we mentioned the guy that's infatuated with her, but he's like texting her like 40 times and this shit, and like, babe, I miss you, like, I can't get you off my mind. And the movie really tries to sell the relationship, but it like doesn't. And so the ex-husband, I'm sorry, Colin, what'd you say?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Melissa McCarthy and the young guy again, but yeah, but, they don't sell that relationship yet.
But the ex-husband, he Dan, that's the character's name, he ends up getting married to Marcy, played by Julie Bowen from Modern Family, the blonde mom, who still looks good as far as I'm concerned. But
she plays a good bitch. Like, she plays her role fine.
Yeah, she does. Like it's very funny to see her on Modern Family, and then she's playing a total bitch in here. But but I think what I found really funny, and not like the movie wanted me to, but just in a way that I go, this is just a horrible script. The movie tries to play Melissa McCarthy off like a bitch, and him kind of like, oh, he's just trying to do the best he can. I'm like, really? This is how? Because the daughter, when they get married, the daughter, Melissa McCarthy's character, and her little squad, including her daughter's friends, they go and like fuck up the wedding.
After they get stoned, which doesn't make any sense. No one goes and like rages and destroys a party when they're all stoned.
Yeah, like
Doesn't
you
make
would.
any sense.
Yeah, you guys get wrecked and just go like, just crash some party, like center of attention, and just maybe get the cops called on you. That's what I do when I smoke weed.
Yeah, I don't know about
Yeah, right. I was like, maybe if they're all getting wasted, like if they're all getting drunk, that makes sense.
Yeah, but the concept that weed would get them go, like it felt almost propaganda-ish. Honestly, like
Yeah,
this is what happened
for madness.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is what happens when you smoke weed. You just want to go and fuck up a wedding. But, so she fucks up the wedding. Like, they break other glasses and the cake and all that shit. And the fact that they just let them leave, I'll be honest, I went, that's funny. But then the daughter's like, why are you being so mean to dad? And I'm just like, you know he divorced your mother just randomly, right? Like, the daughter didn't even come across... The thing is, there's no one in this movie to cheer for. They have Jillian Jacobs in here, which was...
I was so bummed to see her in this, because I like her.
So Jillian Jacobs, not only is she just lovely, but she's on, of course, Community, but she did that show Love on Netflix that I really enjoyed. Yeah,
it's a great show.
So it proves that she's a great fucking actress, and they just give her nothing to do.
Yeah.
She's
not like bad in this. She's not terrible in this. Like she actually had like at least some decent throwaway lines where she was just being weird, but she like it was just a bummer to see her in this with the shitty script, like you said.
I think what bothers me more about something like Tammy and The Boss is that these movies are made for Melissa McCarthy. They're not made to showcase anyone else. And this is probably one of the best casts, if not the best cast she's had. And yet, so I will say the one thing I'll give this movie is the group of her daughter's friends. I liked. I thought,
yeah, they were all right. They were fine. They weren't the problem.
But again, the movie's like, oh, these characters that could be interesting, and then they do nothing with them. It hurt my heart to see Chris Parnell in this. I was just like, okay, so Chris Parnell plays the professor, the archaeology professor, Scott. So I was sitting there thinking, okay, maybe Archer was in between shooting seasons, and he was like, this is an easy check, whatever, because he's barely in the movie, but. He reminded me, Colin, of our high school science teacher, Mr. Baxter. Because he just makes these terrible puns, and that made me laugh. And
like science puns. Like he was all right. Like he was being funny, just playing like the dorky archaeology teacher.
Yeah, but so I had this movie probably at a D or D minus for most of it, right? What crosses over into what it gets, which I'm sure you can't guess, is that. When Melissa McCarthy, Deanna, moves into the school, she has this weird neighbor, or this weird roommate, who's like a girl who would have shopped at Hot Topic 5 years ago. She has the fishnets and probably listens to Good Charlotte or, whatever. But she's this weird roommate. I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, she's going to become important somehow. And so after Deanna and the girls fuck up the wedding, the ex-husband goes, you're cut off. I'm not paying for your school anymore, da-da-da. And so they're like, okay, we have to raise money, to keep Deanna in school. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, these are broke college students, but they want to raise money for stuff. Okay, cool, whatever. So Scott, stick with me here. They throw this party, right? And, of course, no one shows up because, they just don't. And one of the girls in the group goes, oh, that's right. No one's going to show up because it's the same night as a Christina Aguilera concert. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I swear to God, if you say the roommate is related to her in some way. And Scott, guess what? Oh, hey, this is Christina Aguilera. This is my cousin. I'm just like, God damn it.
Little cameo. Perfect.
And Colin, that's when I went, okay, you've officially sealed your fate as far as what I'm going to give you. The only reason that made me laugh is because I just pictured Colin face palming and just going like, God damn it, movie. Yeah.
I was like, of course they're going to bring in some like gratuitous, awful musical cameo at the end. And they did.
You know what it reminded me of? Because they showed the preview, the trailer for it, when for that terrible Mamma Mia movie, that sequel.
If I see that trailer one more fucking time, I swear to God. Like, I can't hear.
Did you guys have great
more
trailers in this one?
Oh, it was like, oh God, it won't, like the ABBA movie fucking won't stop. Like, I feel like the movie's gonna come out in 2 years. Like, I've been watching the trailers for months now. I think I've seen it 10 times in theaters.
That's part of the beautiful slow burn of these bad movies. Is
Dude,
like,
it just
they really push them, so you have to see them frequently in trailers, and so you actually have to see the entire thing, and it's everything that you hated about yourself in this world.
And the trailer for Mamma Mia, Here We Fucking Go Again, is like, it's, you watch the whole movie every time you see the trailer.
Yep.
Because they play out the whole thing, and they're like, oh, look at the young people, and then it's these old fuckers now, and then look, it's Cher, and like, if I hear her say like, Grandma, you weren't invited, and she's like, that's the best kind of party, little girl. Like, if I hear her say that one more time, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna absolutely lose it. I can't handle Mamma Mia. Like, I can't. ABBA, all the ABBA songs will forever make me angry now. And it's because not only do I associate it with how much I hate the trailer, but then I see a terrible Melissa McCarthy movie or an Amy Schumer movie like right afterwards.
They're always before the bad ones.
Yeah.
Always.
So they go hand in hand, and it just, like, I leave the theater and I feel like I've just had like a trauma happen to me. I need like a blanket put around me and like a cup of hot cocoa and someone to just tell me everything's gonna be okay.
He needs more blankets and less blankets.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, so I'll be honest, man. So watching that trailer, I was sitting there. I was like, I know me and Scott will hate it. Colin's gonna detest that movie. There's nothing that movie could do. But I'm right there with you, though. I was sitting there, I was like, okay, so yes, it's Cher, and then it's some young girl who, I don't know who plays the young Meryl Streep character, but I was like, damn, okay, hi. But man, they were just pushing the music, and oh, it's Pierce Brosnan, and oh, look, it's Colin Firth, and I'm just like, I'm like, please make this ABBA movie, this music stop, just, and how everyone is choreographed dancing on the pier and shit. It's like, I thought you loved ABBA. It's like, I didn't like ABBA before this movie. I fucking hate ABBA now. Like, it's really bad, but it goes into this Christina Aguilera concert, and, you know, for all the women, of course, Scott, because, you know, this is all about women's empowerment, you know, she does that song Fighter, and I was just like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is really unpleasant for me to sit through. And so, I don't think people remember, like, maybe it was like 3 years ago, Christina was trying to go ahead and do that whole go on tour, and she had to cancel the tour because no one was buying her fucking tickets. So I was sitting there, I was like, as a college student, would I pay $20 to see Christina Aguilera? And I thought, you know, when we the three of us went and saw Flobots, I think I paid $25. I'm like, I wouldn't pay $20 to see Christina Aguilera. I'm like, like, honestly, like, especially now, like, it's like maybe back in her dirty days I would pay $20, but now I'm like, nah.
She looks so weird now.
She doesn't quite look like something from Avatar, but she's like, she's heading in that direction.
She looks like she has like a centimeter of makeup on her face.
Yeah, no, the makeup is very thick.
And then her hair, like, it looked like, I'm assuming it was a wig. I don't even know. It was just weird. It was like a wig hat.
It is just very funny too that the movie goes, like, Christina shows up and she's like, or ex-Tina as they kept calling her. I was like, Jesus Christ, really? And she goes, oh yeah, my cousin told me about your story and I'm really into, like, your whole movement. I was like, this is really bad acting too on top of this. And,
oh yeah, and Scott, the cousin is like this weirdo, like, shut-in who is like, all of those jokes fall flat of her, like, being like a weird vampire girl and then they never like open up the window. But then, like, of course, Melissa McCarthy, like, helps her, like, one time in a dumb way.
So, like, what is her character like? Describe to me Melissa McCarthy's character.
So she's like a mom type, you know, like she's just like the overbearing, like sweet, like
innocent,
you know, like yeah, like you know, like she's just like a big dorky bubbly mom, and you know, and then she's like, oh, I'm gonna go back to school, get my degree. And then so
wonder
she
what's
just,
gonna
like,
happen next.
Yeah, so and yeah, so she's just like a big dork. She wears like sweaters with like sequins on it that has like dumb shit written on it that she gets made fun of, and then like you know, she has like dorky mom come back. So she's just like dorky mom until like the party like Hunter was talking about, and like her daughter like runs a comb through her hair and all of a sudden like styled perfectly, and they take her glasses off, and then she
like
opens up her buttons.
Thing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden some 20-year-old dude wants to fuck her.
Yeah, which again is really hard. Like, and by the way, they play that terrible song, MILF Money by Fergie, and she just starts dancing to it, and that's when I was like, oh man, this movie is not going to make it easy for me to stay in my seat, is it? These people 2 seats over from me, dude, I was trying so hard, dude. I'm just like, okay, this is everyone, like everyone's here, whatever. I was groaning. I was doing that Charlie Brown, like, groan in this movie, because I was like, this is just there's nothing worse than seeing a comedian bomb. But a movie that's not funny, that's the one thing it needs to do. I mean, we talk about something like Game Night, where, you know, admittedly, the logic, you know, like, you have to give it more and more rope, you know, as the movie goes along. But it's such a funny movie, you kind of go, okay, I'm laughing. You know, there's just nothing in this movie where I can't even think of the jokes, because I just started blocking them out after a while. I went, oh, that wasn't funny. What's her name? Maya Rudolph is in this movie, and they're like, oh, she's crazy, and she just says things she's not supposed to say, and none of her jokes land. And I think what irritates me the most, before I throw it back to Colin here, is that there's actual material here. Like, where it starts off, there's a very interesting dynamic of, hey, the mom's going back to school, and the daughter, and, you know, like...
How many back-to-school movies are there? Like,
oh God,
endless.
Well, I think it's important to note that this is a blatant ripoff
of
Back to School
yeah.
with Rodney Dangerfield,
which is way better than this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you were saying like there's like a good premise here, and it's like it's because it's been done before. It was Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, so they're like, oh, we're gonna like switch it all around like we did with Ghostbusters, and you know, throw a bunch of women in it. And like instead of like Rodney Dangerfield kind of being like an asshole and you know, just being kind of like a sarcastic prick to everybody, which was hilarious, you know, you have Melissa McCarthy just being like a sweetheart, kill him with kindness, and it's not funny. It's just like really, really bad.
Yeah, I think what just amazed me about this stuff is how little I laughed, because this is almost 2 hours, isn't it? Like an hour, 45 minutes, something like that?
Hour and 45 minutes, yeah. I remember because I looked at the runtime before we started, and then, I kept looking at my phone. I was like, Jesus, has it been an hour and 45 minutes yet? Please, have mercy.
Yeah, this dragged, man. This really genuinely dragged. And they could have shaved 15 minutes off this movie so easily and kept it up.
Shaved an hour and 15 minutes off this movie.
Yeah. You're not wrong. But Scott, man, I just left the theater. I went, would I tell anyone to watch this, even for $1 on Redbox? And I go, no. I would have felt ripped off if I paid $1 for this. And this isn't bad funny, or like so bad that's kind of funny, like something like Left Behind or something like that. This is just a upsettingly bad film. So before I throw it back, just kind of go into my final thoughts before I throw it back to you, Colin, because I kind of want to give you some time to wrap up. This sucks, man. It's a really shitty movie, and it's amazing that halfway through the year, I've got pretty much 2 or 3 of my least favorite movies locked up. This is a go fuck yourself to the highest degree. The only joy I got out of this movie is knowing it made only like $15 million its opening weekend because of Infinity War, thank God. And so this shit will fail into obscurity, and you know, we won't have to talk about it again until, January, February when we do our worst stuff. So yeah, this is a go fuck yourself easily. Call in your final thoughts and grades, sir.
Yeah, it's just there's so many reasons why this movie is terrible. But the main one is that it's just a series of like improv sketches where Melissa McCarthy's the star, and all of the gags aren't funny. It's usually like it's either she's trying to make a joke work, and I'm sitting there staring at the screen, rolling my eyes, like over and over again. Like, and the story was like so impossible that like even with all of the bad jokes going on, like if there's not you can't even like hold on to some form of a plot that is interesting. There's a reveal at the end that was supposed to be like a big like aha moment regarding the boy that is for whatever reason infatuated with Melissa McCarthy and who his parents were, and it's like I just didn't care. But yeah, to when it all boils down to it, I mean, it's just Melissa McCarthy isn't funny in this. You could say like she's just kind of being that like sweet mom character, but she's trying really hard to be funny.
Yeah,
and
she is.
Given the ridiculous plot lines and everything that she's doing, I just was so unhappy, and by the end I was like angry that I had to sit through it. It's a go fuck yourself for sure, and it's gonna be on the list 100%.
Hooray!
Yep. Like the party.
I will say the only joy I did get out of it is kind of like me and Colin just had this like mutual like psychic connection. I was like, oh man, Colin's probably suffered through this like I am right now, because yeah, it's rough, Scott. I'll be honest with you. I would watch The Boss again before I ever watch this again. Actually, let me think. I might watch Mr. Church before I watch this again.
Just don't watch any of them. Just never watch any of them.
They're just bad. This just sounds like a lot of bad movies.
But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Dude, there's so many movies I would watch instead of this. So many.
Yeah, this was quite... I would watch Super Mario Brothers, the movie, before I ever watch this again.
That one's borderline so bad it's funny.
That's fair, yeah. But I would definitely...
Like, this one's just so bad it just, your eyes hurt from rolling.
So, I think what will be interesting to see is which is higher on our list. Is this or Mamma Mia? Because I feel like Mamma Mia will be higher. Like... Just because
I feel like I've built up so much aggression already towards it, just watching the trailers, that I'm gonna be angry going into it,
And I feel like I'm gonna end up seeing it like in a theater with a bunch of other people that are really into it, and that's gonna really set me off.
Yeah, they're gonna love it. Everyone in the theater is gonna love it. I need to see it in a theater I know where no one goes, because that makes me angrier. Agreed, 100% agree.
I'm gonna be if I'm next to like a bunch of people like singing the ABBA songs, I'm gonna be like steaming. There's gonna be steam coming to my ears.
Like half the movie will be you staring at them, and the other half is just you angrily fuming over this movie.
Yeah, just like they're 2 seats over, and my head is completely turned to the side, staring daggers right into them. Like, stop enjoying this movie.
Oh my god, I want that. Like, you're like, So I will say the one good thing about that ABBA trailer, about the Mamma Mia trailer, is that they showed the trailer for Bohemian Rhapsody right afterwards, and that, by contrast, looks amazing. So
yeah, I was really excited for that. It's not till October too. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's quite a ways off, but it looks fantastic.
It's the dude from Mr. Robot, right?
Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah,
dude,
so.
that movie looked really good.
Yeah, so hey, at least we'll get one good movie with music from a from a band. But yeah, guys, have you seen Life? And what's funny though is I think they showed the trailer for that new Melissa McCarthy movie, that like Fox Searchlight one, and that where she's like the author or whatever. Did you see that trailer? Or
Yeah, she like plagiarizes her. I couldn't really follow the plot, but yeah, she was doing something shady with some stories, selling stories or something, right?
yeah, and that by contrast actually looks really interesting. I went, oh, okay, this might actually be good, but you know, unlike what I'm actually about to watch her in. But yeah, so guys, were you fortunate enough to see Life of the Party? If, by the way, if you're doing this for like a Mother's Day thing, don't take your mom to see anything else. Take her to see Deadpool 2. Can You Ever Forgive Me? That's a movie that thinking of. But guys, let us know what you thought in the comments below. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at @JHunterRealPineapple. Like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple, and follow us on SoundCloud, Podbean, Google Music, and iTunes at The Real Pineapple. You can follow Colin on Twitter at
The Real O'Neill.
and you can follow Scott on Twitter at
Newman the First.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have a review up this weekend for Solo, which
So stoked for that.
yeah, I so they did show. I saw a trailer for that going in Deadpool 2, and I was like, oh man, I'm sure Scott and Colin they're just so ready. They are so ready for Solo.
Dripping wet.
Creaming my pants over here.
I know Scott in particular is probably just gonna be like.
Well, I mean, you're throwing Donald Glover in there. It's like, come on now, like how you're trying to make me fully erect for this entire film. Like that's not fair to either of the people around me, or you know, the director and the nice people that decided to make this film. So that's what you're gonna get. So sorry ahead of time.
Fair enough, but guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.